The hour for convening having arrived, all members of this House will please report to the floor and take your seats. All members of this House will report to the floor of the House immediately and take your seats. The clerk will ring the bell.
That's all I can say.
All members will please take your seats. We are going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. Nice to see the sunshine out there this morning, huh? About to forget what it looked like. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the lady from the 43rd House District, Chairman Sharon Cooper. Chairman Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I don't believe anything in life really happens by accident. And since I have been a member of this body, I have had great experiences when it comes to learning more about the Jewish faith. It started with one of the legislators from my area bringing down his rabbi to do lunch and learns. And we sat there and listened to this wonderful storyteller tell us stories and to bring to life the Bible. Then, when we became the majority party, I was honored by our speaker to be assigned to be our representative to the Holocaust Commission. And I have served in that position most of the time that I have been here. And Mr. Speaker, thank you again for letting me continue to do that. And so when I learned that we had a fairly new rabbi in East Cobb, I wanted to make sure that he had the opportunity and we had the opportunity to welcome him to Georgia and to the General Assembly. The Jewish community is a very large part of East Cobb, and it's a very active part of our community and adds a great deal to the tapestry that makes East Cobb a wonderful place to live. So today, I will be introducing to you Senior Rabbi Larry Cernovich, and he represents the Temple Kol Eremuth, one of 3 or 4 temples that we have in our East Cobb area. He, describes himself as a teacher, a writer, a speaker, and he's a community leader. What I really like in him, that he truly believes in the eternal hope of the Jewish people, which is to be a light to the nations of the world. something we especially need during these traveling times. He's been with us a year. He comes from New Jersey. I asked him how he liked Georgia and did he miss New Jersey and the winter weather, and he said one of the first things he did when he knew that he was coming here was he threw away his snowblower. You know, a really pretty smart move on his part. He moved here with his wife Becky and their 2 children, and he enjoys yoga, running, and coffee with a good book, which makes him somebody that I can identify with. You know, he's also trained as a police chaplain, and he serves already in that role for the Cobb County Police Department. He's on the Council of Greater Atlanta and the Jewish Community Relations part with that, and serves with the Cobb County Neighborhood Safety Commission. Already, in just over a year, he has become a moving part and a great leader for our community, and so I'm very glad to have him with us today. Rabbi.
Good morning, everyone. And yes, I was very happy to get rid of my snowblower, no doubt. I hope I don't jinx us that hopefully the snow is over. Thank you to Speaker Ralston for the opportunity to be here with all of you today. It's a real honor. And thanks to my friend Representative Cooper for the invitation and warm introduction today. Along with the delegation of Cobb County, where I am blessed to call home. Thanks to all of you, the individuals of the Georgia State House of Representatives, for spending your precious time here, serving and sacrificing for the people of the great state of Georgia. It's an honor to be with you and to pray with you today. Let me begin then by saying, I love you. I love you. You want to try that with me? We can all do that together. I love you. Here we go. I want to share a sound with you in just a moment. A sound that emanates deep within our souls, one that takes us back to the wilderness of Sinai, the sound of the shofar, of the ram's horn. If you would indulge me for just a moment, close your eyes and imagine that you are standing at the beautiful and majestic Mount Sinai, a place that will become known as one of revelation and one of transformation, along with the generations of Israelites that have just been freed from slavery. You've been told, along with the rest of the people, to remain at the bottom of that mountain and wait until the 3rd day, when Moses would give you further instructions and share with you a vision of the future. Exodus chapter 19, verse 16 describes this immensely deep and spiritual moment. On the 3rd day, as morning dawned, there was thunder and lightning and a dense cloud upon the mountain, and a very loud blast of the horn, of the shofar, and all the people who were in the camp trembled. The blare of the horn grew louder and louder, and as Moses spoke, God answered him in thunder. Yes, there was fear. They were indeed afraid, because there was no turning back, and the future was unknown, unpredictable. The time for asking, do I stay or do I go? I'm not going to sing that, by the way. Maybe later we can do a private song session. As my colleague Danya Ruttenberg writes, they'll have to face the ways in which responsibility, covenant, can be uncomfortable. It can push us and challenge us and force us to be accountable to the divine, to others, and to the best version of ourselves. At the heart of the Torah, deep in its center, is the commandment in Leviticus 19, you shall be holy. How many distractions, the pettiness, the indulgence of our less admirable qualities do we have to give up to be holy? Freedom would be heralded with the blast of the shofar, as you just heard. It was exactly the wake-up call they needed. Life is not lived in the comfortable, but rather in the uncomfortable moments. Because that's when we grow the most, isn't it? We spend most of our lives finding ways to avoid the truth because we know that when we confront it, we must listen. And when we listen, we have to respond. So many times we run from the truth, don't we? So since March of 2020, we've been launched into a world of unpredictability. But let's not kid ourselves. The world was in chaos before the pandemic. And the cracks in our country and in our world were only getting worse. I believe that it was at that moment that God hit the reset button and sent everybody to their rooms, to their homes, to think about their lives. Anybody ever have that happen as a kid? You got sent to your room to go think about what you'd done? We can all admit it, come on. I know confronting the truth is hard, isn't it? To contemplate our individual roles and the challenges unfolding around us. Some people went into their homes and thought about their lives and pledged to help heal the divisions around them, including in their own families. Others emerged remarkably unchanged, as if nothing really ever happened. There's a world filled with fear and hatred of the unknown, of the other, of the stranger among us. But the shofar, the loud blast of the horn, is a wake-up call to remind us to believe once again in the impossible becoming possible, in miracles occurring in our own day, every day, a belief in the power of our world to move us, to inspire us, to allow us to partner with God in the continued creation of the world. The great Hasidic master, Rabbi Levi Yitzhak of Berdichev, taught people hear the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, on the Jewish New Year, and are supposed to awaken from their spiritual slumber. The shofar jars them, inspires them to reevaluate their lives and improve themselves. Most people, though, do not carry the sound of the shofar with them for too long a time. Some have already forgotten by the time they return home for lunch. For those who are more spiritually sensitive, the sound of the shofar continues to inspire them every day of the year. When they feel themselves falling into a spiritual rut, when they feel that they're losing their spiritual direction, they hear the shofar within their minds. It challenges them to energize themselves, to refocus their goals. The inner shofar keeps them alert. But before you all go out and buy a shofar-themed alarm clock, and if you need, just give me your number. I'll call you in the morning. I'll blast that shofar. To keep you alert when you begin to get jaded about our world. There's more to the story. Soon after Revelation at Mount Sinai, you may remember, God asked the people to bring gifts. We read, "Tell the Israelites to bring me gifts, truma. You shall accept me gifts from every person whose hearts move them." What does God need gifts for? Because just a few verses later, what does God say to Moses? "Asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham," and let them build me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among the people. After this tremendous moment at Sinai and hearing the sound of the shofar, God tells them to bring gifts so they can build a sanctuary, enabling God to dwell among the people. But let me ask you the question, wasn't God already with the people? What was this all about? God needed to teach them a lesson, and one that has endured for generations. People will give or sacrifice something of themselves not because they have to, but because they want to. because they believe in a vision of the future that is so much bigger than one single soul. These words here form the link between the generous thought and the generous deed. Isn't that right? Because we know about good intentions, right? Once people started giving, they couldn't stop. In fact, people gave so much that Moses had to tell them to stop and not bring any more. There was an energy and an excitement about a shared future, one that would far surpass their wildest dreams. And this wasn't superficial or for show. There were no selfies at the moment. They had the knowledge that in the wilderness, they were either all in or they all would die. It was a revolutionary idea introduced to the world that our own individual future is tied up with the future of the stranger sitting next to us. As the former chief rabbi of the UK, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, may his memory be a blessing, as he taught, the Jewish sages noted that on only one occasion, for those who know your Bible, only on one occasion does the Bible command us to love our neighbor. But in 37 places, it commands us to love the stranger. Our neighbor is one we love because she or he is like us. The stranger, though, is one we love because she or he is not like us. Loving the stranger is not banning books that teach the reality of the Holocaust or making it subjective on who decides, right, what Holocaust education might look like. Loving the stranger is not taking a synagogue hostage in Texas, where my friend and classmate, Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker, has to save members of his community from a Jew-hating conspiracy theorist who believes that Jews control the world. Loving the stranger is not making threats at historically black colleges and universities, or targeting Asians, Muslims, or members of the LGBT community. Loving the stranger is making their lives as sweet, as precious, and as beautiful as we want the lives of our own children to be. Where one doesn't have to worry about being salted because of their race, religion, gender, and other things that make them unique. Rather, they're loved because of who they are and the gifts, right? The gifts that they bring, which will make our community even stronger. It's a place where we recognize that our diversity here in the great state of Georgia is what makes us stronger. From the building of the sanctuary to the building of this beautiful Georgia State Capitol, one common theme is clear. No building project will truly be complete if we don't recognize the value of each individual and the gifts they bring. So if you would, please rise with me and let us pray. Dear God, we stand in your presence in this holy chamber. We have witnessed the thunder and the lighting and the blast of the shofar, waking us up from our slumber, moving us to do your work here on earth. We know our lives are in your hands and that tomorrow is not a given. Dear God, bless us today under this beautiful gold dome. Bless these leaders, give them the strength and courage to do your will as they represent all of those who call the state of Georgia their home. Dear God, you endow us with the knowledge that freedom is never free and that we cannot take our representative government for granted or silence the voices of those who disagree with us. God, you know the opposite is true. Bless each of these incredible representatives with the gift of vision and the gift of hearing. Remind them that they have been given 2 ears and 1 mouth, so they may listen more than they speak. And they may hear your voice and feel your presence in each other. And let them seek to include, rather exclude. Dear God, may the following words from this beautiful Franciscan tradition be in the hearts today as they do the people's work. May God bless all of these incredible representatives with discomfort at easy answers and half-truths and superficial relationships so that you may live deep within your heart. May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people so that you may work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer pain, rejection, hunger, and war, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and to turn their pain to joy. And lastly, may God bless each and every one of you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in the world, so that you can do what others claim cannot be done, to bring justice and kindness to all of our children and to all those in need. And let us all say, Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Members may greet the chaplain of the day in the south anteroom. Chair recognizes Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal of the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And furthermore, Mr. Speaker, a politician needs the ability to foretell what is going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year, and have the ability afterwards to explain why it did not happen.
Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, 159th, moves following be established as the order of business in the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1225 by Representative Gilliard, the 162nd, Bodie, the 62nd, Bruce, the 61st. The bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 35, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions relative to law enforcement officers.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 1226 by Representative Werkheiser, the 157th. The bill being titled an act to amend the act creating the Board of Commissioners of Evans County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1227 by Representative Werkheiser, the 157th. The bill being titled an act to amend an act providing for the composition of the Board of Education for Evans County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1228 by Representative Camp, the 131st. A bill being titled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Lamar County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1229 by Representative Camp on the 131st, a bill being titled an act amending an act creating a board of commissioner of roads and revenues for the county of Pike.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1230 by Representative Camp on the 131st, a bill being titled an act amending an act providing for the election of members of the Lamar County Board of Education.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1231 by Representative Camp on the 131st, Hagan on the 156th, Earhart of the 36th, and Mathiak of the 73rd. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 10 and Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to barbers and cosmetologists.
Regulated
House
industries.
Bill 1232 by Representative Barton of the 5th, Ridley of the 6th, Prince of the 127th, Smith of the 133rd, Corbett of the 174th. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 16, 11, 112, and Chapter 2 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to vehicles with false or secret compartments.
Motor vehicles.
House Bill 1233 by Representative Rhodes of the 120th, Laricki of the 169th, and Corbett of the 174th. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 2 of Title 12, Title 27, and Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 52 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions of the Department of Natural Resources.
Game, fish, and parks.
House Bill 1234 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd, Hill of the 3rd, Lumsden of the 12th, Gunner of the 8th, and Cantrell of the 22nd. A bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 15, 11, 103 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to right of attorney and dependency
Juvenile
proceedings.
justice.
House Bill 1271 by Representative Pritchett of the 176th, Corbett of the 174th, Ridley of the 6th, Saints of the 180th, and Scoggins of the 14th. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to property.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1272 by Representative Smith of the 18th Green, the 151st, Jenkins, the 132nd, Washburn, the 141st, and Hogan, the 179th. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 8 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to solid waste management.
Natural resources and environment.
House Bill 1273 by Representative Wilson of the 80th. The bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 4, Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to public assistance.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1274 by Representative Carson of the 46th, Walensky the 79th, Abstration of the 104th, Couch of the 50th, and Cooper of the 43rd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions relative to state government.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1275 by Representative Rich of the 97th, Leverett of the 33rd, and Oliver of the 82nd. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 32 and Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to municipal courts generally.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1276 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, Bennett of the 94th, Houston of the 170th, England of the 116th Parish and the 158th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Department of Community Health.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1277 by Representative Saints of the 180th, Hitchens of the 161st, Petrie of the 166th, Burchett of the 176th, Lumsden of the 12th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 3 of Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the county special purpose local options.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1278 by Representative Bentley, the 139th, Stevens, the 164th, and Smyrie, the 135th. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 48.8.3 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to exemptions from sales and use tax.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1279 by Representative Gamble, the 15th, Scoggins, the 14th, Gullett of the 19th, Kelly, the 16th, Stevens, the 164th. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 13 and Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to dangerous drugs.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1280 by Representative Lim of the 99th, Abstration of the 104th, Jones of the 25th. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 6 of Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to municipal taxation.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1281 by Representative Buckner of the 137th, Oliver of the 82nd, Robichaud of the 48th, Holcomb of the 81st, Fry of the 118th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Sections 35, 3, 34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to disclosure and dissemination of criminal records.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 1282 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, Bruce of the 61st, Prince of the 127th, and Nelson of the 125th. Bill be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 6, Chapter 2, Title 20, the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to educational programs in elementary and secondary education. House Bill 1283 by Representative Douglas, the 78th, Frye of the 118th, Williams of the 148th, Hogan on the 79th, Evans the 57th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 15, Article 6, Chapter 2, Title 20, the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to miscellaneous provisions under the Quality Basic Education Act.
Education.
Senate Bill 257 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd, Parent of the 42nd, Jones of the 22nd, Butler of the 55th, and Jackson the 41st. Bill being entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 3, Title 35 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to Georgia Crime Information Center.
Public safety and homeland security.
Senate Bill 326 by Senator Ana Duarte of the 31st, Watson of the 1st, Strickland of the 17th, Dugan of the 30th, Hatchett of the 50th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 3, Title 50 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to the state flag, seal, and other symbols.
State properties.
Senate Bill 338 by Senator Burke of the 11th, Huffstetler of the 52nd, Watson the 1st, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Tillery the 19th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 7, Chapter 4, Title 49 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to medical assistance generally.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 342 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Watson of the 1st, Huffstetler of the 52nd, Burke of the 11th, Jackson of the 41st, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 24, Title 33 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to insurance generally.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 363 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, Brass of the 28th, Mullis of the 53rd, Hatchett of the 50th, Cowser of the 46th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 15 of Chapter 1 and Title 10 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to Fair Business Practice Act of 1975.
Judiciary.
That completes first readers.
Okay, as we did yesterday, if I could have your attention, please. We have a large number of local bills, all of which will be assigned to the Intergovernmental Coordination Committee. I'm going to ask the inquiry I asked yesterday, which is there any objection to suspending the rules of the House temporarily to allow these bills to be read for the first time and assigned to committee, and to dispense with the reading of the caption of each of the bills? Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1194 by Representative Crowe of the 110th, a bill relating to safe operations of motor carriers. House Bill 1195 by Representative Lumsden of the 12th, Collins of the 68th, Fleming of the 121st, Anderson of the 10th, Williams of the 145th, a bill relating to interlocal risk management agencies in local government. House Bill 1196 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, a bill to amend an act to provide homestead exemptions from Hart County ad valorem taxes. House Bill 1197 by Representative Kelly of the 16th, a bill relating to income taxes. House Bill 1198 by Representative Carson of the 46th, Belton of the 112th, Thomas of the 21st, Prince of the 127th, Clark of the 147th, and others, a bill relating to imposition, rate computation, exemptions, and credits. House Bill 1199 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, a bill to amend an act creating Board of Commissioners of Fulton County. House Bill 1200 by Representative Wilson of the 80th, Oliver of the 82nd, Evans of the 83rd, and Holcomb of the 81st, a bill to amend an act to authorize the governing authority of the City of Brookhaven to levy an excise tax. House Bill 1201 by Representative Dukes of the 154th, a bill to provide for the reapportionment of the election districts for the Baker County Board of Education. House Bill 1202 by Representative Dukes of the 154th, a bill to amend an act creating Board of Commissioners of Baker County. House Bill 1203 by Representative Perkle of the 155th, House of the 170th, Watson of the 172nd, a bill to amend an act creating Board of Commissioners of Tift County. House Bill 1204 by Representative Dukes of the 154th, Green of the 151st, Hobson of the 153rd, a bill to amend and act creating Board of Commissioners of Doherty County, House Bill 1205 by Representative Saines of the 180th and Corbett of the 174th, a bill to amend and act to amend, restate, revise, reorganize, modernize the law relating to the Board of Commissioners of Camden County, House Bill 1206 by Representative Benson of the 31st, a bill to amend and act establishing a system of public schools in the city of Jefferson, House Bill 1207 by Representative Perkle of the 155th, Houston of the 170th, Watson of the 172nd, a bill to amend and act creating the Tift County Board of Education, House Bill 1208 by Representative Rhodes of the 120th, a bill to amend and act creating Board of Commissioners of Greene County, House Bill 1209 by Representative Rhodes of the 120th, a bill to amend and act creating Board of Education of Greene County, House Bill 1210 by Representative Bonner of the 72nd, Mathiak of the 73rd, Singleton of the 71st, and Jackson of the 64th, a bill to amend and act creating Board of Commissioners of Fayette County, House Bill 1211 by Representative Frazier of the 126th, a bill to amend and act creating Board of Commissioners of Burke County, House Bill 1212 by Representative Frazier of the 126th, a bill to amend and act creating the Burke County Board of Education, House Bill 1213 by Representative Chokas of the 138th, a bill to amend and act creating the Board of Commissioners of Marion County, House Bill 1214 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Burnell of the 77th, Schofield of the 60th, Douglas of the 78th, a bill to amend and act changing the composition and manner of selection of the Clayton County Board of Education, House Bill 1215 by Representative Thomas of the 21st, Wade of the 9th, Jones of the 47th, Carson of the 46th, Gullett of the 19th, and others, a bill relating to funding for state charter schools, House Bill 1216 by Representative McDonald of the 26th, Collins of the 68th, Powell of the 32nd, Hitchens of the 161st, Burns of the 159th, and others, a bill relating to serious traffic offenses, House Bill 1217 by Representative Irwin of the 28th, Jones of the 47th, Dubnik of the 29th, McDonald of the 26th, Mathiak of the 73rd, and others, a bill to amend the Quality Basic Education Act, House Bill 1218 by Representative Evans of the 83rd, Bentley of the 139th, Smith of the 18th, Leverett of the 33rd, Nelson of the 125th, and others, a bill relating to cemetery and funeral services, House Bill 1219 by Representative House of the 170th, Jaspers of the 11th Parish of the 158th, Tankersley of the 160th, Newton of the 123rd, a bill relating to general provisions relative to dentists, dental hygienists, and dental assistants, House Bill 1220 by Representative Clark of the 108th, Holcomb of the 81st, Kennard of the 102nd, Carpenter of the 4th, a bill relating to competencies and core curriculum under the Quality Basic Education Act, House Bill 1221 by Representative Gamble of the 15th, Cantrell of the 22nd, Washburn of the 141st, Camp of the 131st, Crow of the 110th, and others, a bill relating to how liens are declared and created and limitations on the aggregate of liens, House Bill 1222 by Representative Williams of the 148th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Williams of the 115th, Lumsden of the 12th, Powell of the 32nd, and others, a bill relating to insurance requirements, House Bill 1223 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Smith of the 133rd, Rhodes of the 120th, bill relating to exemptions from sales and use tax, House Bill 1224 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Stevens of the 164th, a bill relating to ad valorem taxation of property, House Bill 1235 by Representative Jenner of the 85th, a bill to amend an act establishing DeKalb County districts in which members of the County Board of Education shall be elected, House Bill 1236 by Representative Perkle of the 155th, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Irwin County, House Bill 1237 by Representative Perkle of the 155th and Loricki of the 169th, a bill to amend an act reestablishing the Board of Commissioners of Coffee County, House Bill 1238 by Representative Williams of the 148th, a bill to amend an act providing continuing existence of the Wilcox County School District and Wilcox County Board of Education, House Bill 1239 by Representative Williams of the 145th, a bill to amend an act providing election of members of the Baldwin County Board of Education, House Bill 1240 by Representative Meeks of the 178th, Werkheiser of the 157th, a bill to amend an act changing the composition and method of election of members of the Board of Education of Appleton County, House Bill 1241 by Representative Meeks of the 178th, Werkheiser of the 157th, a bill to amend an act providing for the Board of Education of Wayne County, House Bill 1242 by Representative Rhodes of the 120th, Williams of the 145th, a bill to amend an act to change the method of electing members of the Board of Education of Putnam County, House Bill 1243 by Representative Jones of the 25th, Gilligan of the 24th, McDonald of the 26th, Cantrell of the 22nd, Wade of the 9th, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Forsyth County, House Bill 1244 by Representative Dreyer of the 59th, Couch of the 50th, Bruce of the 61st, Schofield of the 60th, Robichaud of the 48th, and others, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County, House Bill 1245 by Representative Chokas of the 138th, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Roads and Revenues in the counties of Floyd, Berrien, Effingham, Schley, Sumter, and Greene, House Bill 1246 by Representative Jones of the 25th, Gilligan of the 24th, McDonald of the 26th, Cantrell of the 22nd, Wade of the 9th, a bill to amend an act providing the Forsyth County Board of Education, House Bill 1247 by Representative Saines of the 180th, and Corbett of the 174th, a bill to amend an act providing the Board of Education of Camden County, House Bill 1248 by Representative Wilkerson of the 38th, Allen of the 40th, Jones of the 53rd, and Nilowitz of the 42nd, Thomas of the 39th, and others, bill to amend an act providing election of members of the Board of Education of Cobb County, House Bill 1249 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to amend an act reconstituting the Board of Education of Quitman County, House Bill 1250 by Representative Drenner of the 85th, a bill to amend an act establishing the form of government of DeKalb County. House Bill 1251 by Representative Parrish of the 158th, a bill to amend an act providing for the composition and election of members of the Board of Education of Emmanuel County. House Bill 1252 by Representative Lumsden of the 12th, a bill to amend an act providing for the election of members of the Board of Education of Chattooga County. House Bill 1253 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, a bill to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Probate Court of Lanier County. House Bill 1254 by Representative Chokas of the 138th, a bill to amend an act to reconstitute the Board of Education of Marion County. House Bill 1255 by Representative Chokas of the 138th, a bill to amend an act providing a Board of Education of Schley County. House Bill 1256 by Representative Wilkerson of the 38th, Allen of the 40th, Jones of the 53rd, and Nolwitz of the 42nd, Thomas of the 39th, and others, a bill to amend an act creating a Board of Commissioners of Cobb County. House Bill 1257 by Representative Chokas of the 138th, a bill to amend an act providing for the election of the Board of Commissioners of Schley County. House Bill 1258 by Representative Taylor of the 173rd and Campbell of the 171st, a bill to amend an act creating a Board of Education of Grady County. House Bill 1259 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, Corbett of the 174th, Sains of the 180th, a bill to amend an act reconstituting the Board of Education of Ware County. House Bill 1260 by Representative Dukes of the 154th and Green of the 151st, a bill to amend an act creating the Doherty County School System. House Bill 1261 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Terrell County. House Bill 1262 by Representative Dukes of the 154th, a bill to amend an act changing the method of selecting the members of the Board of Education of Miller County. House Bill 1263 by Representative Dukes of the 154th, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Miller County. House Bill 1264 by Representative Burchett of the 176th and Corbett of the 174th, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Ware County. House Bill 1265 by Representative Burnell of the 77th, Scott of the 76th, Douglas of the 78th, Schofield of the 60th, Neal of the 74th, a bill to amend an act creating the Clayton County Board of Commissioners. House Bill 1266 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to amend an act reconstituting the Board of Education of Randolph County. House Bill 1267 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Randolph County. House Bill 1268 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to amend an act reconstituting the Board of Education of Terrell County. House Bill 1269 by Representative Meeks of the 178th and Werkheiser of the 157th, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Appling County. House Bill 1270 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, a bill to amend to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Probate Court of Atkinson County. House Resolution 706 by Representative Camp of the 131st, Mathiak of the 73rd, Bonner of the 72nd, a resolution honoring the life and memory of Mr. Rex J. Yerkes and dedicating a bridge in his memory. House Resolution 707 by Representative Werkheiser of the 157th, Evans of the 57th, Wiedauer of the 119th, Gaines of the 117th, Hagan of the 156th, and others, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Homicide Cold Case Resources. House Resolution 708 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, Dubnick of the 29th, Donahue of the 30th, and Barr of the 103rd, a resolution honoring the life of Officer Bobby Sue Honey and dedicating a road in her memory. House Resolution 732 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Rhodes of the 120th, Jones of the 25th, and Jones of the 47th, a resolution proposing amendments to the Constitution so as to change the date by which temporary loans for counties, municipalities, and other political subdivisions are payable. Senate Bill 321 by Senator Jones of the 10th, Butler of the 55th, Davenport of the 44th, Anderson of the 43rd, Harrell of the 40th, a bill to amend an act providing for the compensation of certain county officers and officials of DeKalb County. Senate Bill 369 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Albers of the 56th, Cowsher of the 46th, Kennedy of the 18th, Robertson of the 29th, and others, a bill to amend an act relating to the education districts for the election of members of the Board of Education of Gwinnett County. Senate Bill 376 by Senator Merritt of the 9th, Rahman of the 5th, Al of the 48th, Jackson of the 41st, Harrell of the 40th, a bill to amend an act creating the education districts for the election of members of the Board of Education of Gwinnett County. Senate Bill 384 by Senator Anderson of the 24th and Burns of the 23rd, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Columbia County. Senate Bill 385 by Senator Anderson of the 24th, Burns of the 23rd, a bill to amend an act providing for the election of members of the Board of Education of Columbia County. Senate Bill 386 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Meriwether County. Senate Bill 387 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, a bill to amend an act to reconstitute the Meriwether County Board of Education. Senate Bill 391 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Jeff Davis County. Senate Bill 392 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, a bill to amend an act providing for the election of members of the Board of Education of Jeff Davis County. Senate Bill 399 by Senator Burns of the 23rd, a bill to amend an act providing for a 7-member Board of Education of McDuffie County. Senate Bill 400 by Senator Burns of the 23rd, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of McDuffie County. Senate Bill 401 by Senator Burns of the 23rd, a bill to amend an act providing the Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County. Senate Bill 402 by Senator Burns of the 23rd, a bill to amend an act providing for the election of members of the Board of Education of Jefferson County. Senate Bill 430 by Senator Summers of the 13th, a bill to amend an act creating and establishing a Board of Commissioners of Worth County. Senate Bill 431 by Senator Summers of the 13th, a bill to amend an act providing for the election of the chairperson and 4 members of the Worth County Board of Education. 3 second readers.
If I could have your attention, please. If I could have your attention, please. We're going to stand at ease for just a few minutes rather than begin any other item of business, and we'll come back after the State of Judiciary, and begin with the reports of standing committees and morning orders. This House will come back to order. House will come to order. Members, please take your seats. I'm going to have the fire marshal check and see what the capacity is of the anteroom. All members will please take your seats. We're about to convene the joint session for purposes of hearing the state of the judiciary. Madam Doorkeeper.
Mr. Speaker, the President, President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate wait entrance to the House chamber.
Madam Doorkeeper, please allow the President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate to enter the House chamber, and will the messenger please escort them to their designated seats. All members, please take your seats. All members, please take your seats. At this time, it is I have a sort of a sad duty, and that is to introduce at the, we just were joking, last scheduled joint session during his tenure as Lieutenant Governor, Lieutenant Governor Duncan. He will be going on to bigger and better things. I've reflected a lot over the years about the kind of great training and upbringing he had here in this house. We raised him for greatness, and he went on and attained it. But Mr. Governor, I want to tell you I have enjoyed working with you. I admire the courage of your convictions, and I wish you and your family all the best going forward. And it's my honor now to introduce Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan.
Thank you. Truly is an honor to be back in this chamber for my entire life. I'll remember so many conversations, so many relationships, so many life lessons learned inside this chamber for myself and my family. So it truly is an honor to be here as we move forward. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for your friendship along the way. Thank you so much for a working relationship that continues to be very, very productive as we continue to work for 11 million Georgians each and every day. Members of the General Assembly, the joint session will come to order, and I'd ask that all members take your seats. Mr. Doorkeeper.
Mr. President, the Honorable David E. Namias, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Georgia, the Honorable Michael P. Boggs, Presiding Justice of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Brian Rickman, Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, and the Honorable Amanda Mercier, Vice Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, awaits entrance into this chamber.
Honorable David Namias, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Michael P. Boggs, Presiding Justice of the Supreme Court, Honorable Brian Rickman, Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, and the Honorable Amanda Mercier, Vice Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, to access this chamber. The House doorkeeper will escort them to their seats. I'd ask that all members take your seats. Mr. Clerk, can you please read a resolution?
House Resolution 705 by Representative Burns, the 159th, Hatchett of the 150th, and Leverett of the 33rd. A resolution calling a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, inviting each other Justice of the Supreme Court and each judge of the Court of Appeals to be present at joint session and for other purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'd like to take a moment to recognize some very special guests with us here, or folks that work around us each and every day. I'd ask that you please stand when your name is called. First and foremost, we've got the Speaker of the House, David Ralston, who's with us here this afternoon. We've got the Speaker Pro Tem, Jan Jones. Thank you so much for your service. President Pro Tem, Butch Miller. And all of our constitutional statewide officers, if you would stand and we'd all give you a hand. Thank you so much. At this time, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce to you a great Georgian, the Honorable David Namias, Chief Justice of our great Supreme Court here in Georgia. Justice Namias was appointed to the Supreme Court by Governor Sonny Perdue in 2009 and was sworn in as Chief Justice of our Supreme Court on September 4th, 2019. The son of immigrants from Egypt and Germany, Chief Justice Namias was born in Atlanta on September 11th, 1964. He attended Duke University, where he graduated second in his class and summa cum laude, and Harvard Law School, where he graduated magna cum laude and was a classmate of U.S. Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, and as an editor of the Harvard Law Review along with former President Barack Obama. Chief Justice Namias then served as a law clerk for Justice Scalia on the U.S. Supreme Court. In 1995, Chief Justice Namias joined the U.S. Attorney's Office in Atlanta. Shortly after the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, Chief Justice Namias returned to Washington and became one of the Justice Department's leading terrorism prosecutors, coordinating the investigation and prosecution of terrorist activity across the country and internationally, and assisting in counterterrorism policymaking. On December 1, 2004, Chief Justice Namias was confirmed by the U.S. Senate as the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia. Chief Justice Namias was received numerous local, state, and national awards and honors for his public service. It is my great honor to present to you the Chief Justice of our Supreme Court, the Honorable David Namias.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Duncan, Speaker Ralston, President Pro Tem Miller, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, members of the General Assembly, constitutional officers, my colleagues who are here with me today, Presiding Justice Boggs, Chief Judge Rickman, and Vice Chief Judge Mercier, our fellow justices and judges who are watching, and my fellow Georgians. Thank you for this opportunity to present to this gathering of the people's representatives my report as Chief Justice on the state of Georgia's judiciary. In past years, these reports have often discussed a variety of accomplishments of the judiciary in the preceding year, along with an assortment of priorities for the coming year. But I'm going to focus on only one topic: the challenges to our judicial system created by the COVID pandemic. Because while we do have other accomplishments and priorities, dealing with the pandemic's consequences is consuming the attention of Georgia's judges at all levels, and it will for the foreseeable future. I will lead off, as good lawyers always should, with the most important point. The resolve of Georgia's judges to uphold the rule of law and provide equal justice for all is as strong as ever, in spite of the difficulties created by the COVID pandemic for almost 2 years now. We must never lose sight of the importance of our courts. Citizens and businesses rely on courts to resolve their disputes fairly and peaceably through decisions by impartial judges and juries, rather than by whoever has better weapons, more money, or the most political power. Our judicial system is critical to the rule of law that is the very foundation of this state and this nation. My parents came to this country from colonial Egypt and Nazi Germany. And I've heard and studied what it's like to live under the rule of tyrants rather than of law. We are truly blessed to live in a state with a fair and effective judicial system. But as with all areas of our society, the COVID pandemic has created enormous challenges for our judicial system. And like most Georgians, we're frustrated that every time we take a couple of steps forward, a new wave of COVID cases comes and knocks us a step back. What we still call COVID-19 has now been with us in 2020, 2021, and into 2022. Yet through it all, Georgia's judges, lawyers, and other participants in our justice system have demonstrated remarkable perseverance, creativity, and resolve to keep our courts operating, even in areas with very limited resources and facilities. Even at the start of the pandemic, when much of our society shut down and people were told to stay home, our courts always remained open for matters essential to the protection of life, liberty, and property, like criminal warrants and bond hearings, domestic abuse protective orders, and child removal matters. Last July 1, the statewide judicial emergency order ended, along with the governor's statewide public health emergency. As Chief Justice and in consultation with the Judicial Council of Georgia, which I chair, I continue to provide advice and guidance to judges around the state on how to deal with changing COVID conditions. And our Judicial COVID Task Force, led by my colleague Justice Sean Ellen LaGrua and Chief Judge Russell McClelland of the Forsyth County State Court, also continues to provide advice and guidance to courts and lawyers on COVID response. But it's advice and guidance, not orders. As we've learned more about dealing with the ever-changing COVID challenges, we've realized that the best approach at this point is not broad statewide directives, but more tailored responses at the local level. And in this regard, I want to recognize and thank the leaders of our local judicial systems, the Chief Superior Court judges of our 50 judicial circuits, who have taken on the primary responsibility for addressing COVID as it affects the courts in their areas. We've learned that if there's a COVID outbreak in a particular type of court or a particular area of a courthouse, it's not necessary to declare a lengthy local judicial emergency order for all the courts in the county or the circuit. A good example of this occurred during the week between Christmas and New Year's, when the Omicron wave passed over Waycross and infected or exposed several judges and staff members in the Ware County Magistrate Court, who then needed to isolate or quarantine. Chief Superior Court Judge Dwayne Gillis, working in consultation with the Chief Magistrate Judge, did not issue a local judicial emergency order affecting the entire Waycross Circuit or even the entire Ware County Courthouse for the full 30 days allowed by the judicial emergency statute. Instead, Judge Gillis issued an order tolling deadlines in just the Magistrate Court for just 15 days, with provisions to ensure that the court was never closed. Court documents could still be filed using a Dropbox in front of the courthouse, and essential hearings could still be conducted by scheduled appointment. This sort of targeted and limited response to COVID outbreaks and risks is critical to keeping our judicial system as operational as possible. Another important response to COVID has been technological, particularly the use of remote video conference proceedings to keep cases moving. Now, judges tend to be pretty set in their ways. We're not usually early adopters of new technology. But the pandemic forced us to adapt, and in 2 years, we've probably made as much technological progress as it would have taken 2 decades otherwise. And I want to recognize the extraordinary work done by the IT professionals in the judicial branch, like Bob McAteer and his team at the Supreme Court, to support this technological transformation. Almost all courts in Georgia have used video conference technology, Zoom, WebEx, Teams, all sorts of platforms, to conduct proceedings virtually and therefore safely, even when COVID conditions are at their very worst. When Cobb County Superior Court Judge Tang Kell's son had COVID early in the pandemic, Judge Kell was able to continue to conduct hearings virtually from a makeshift courtroom he set up in his bedroom, complete with an American flag he swiped off the front porch. While his whole family quarantined, Judge Kell live streamed to his open courtroom in the Cobb County Courthouse so the public would continue to have access to the proceedings. As COVID conditions ebb and flow, so too can the use of these remote proceedings. My court, for example, would prefer to hold our oral argument sessions in person in our beautiful new Supreme Court courtroom in the Nathan Deal Judicial Center. But remote arguments work fairly well, and we quickly started using that technology after the pandemic hit, as did our Court of Appeals. Since last summer, we've gone back and forth between in-person and remote argument sessions. As the Omicron wave peaked last month, we decided to shift back to remote arguments. That enabled me to participate and preside over the oral arguments, even though I actually had COVID at that time and was isolating in my home. There's no way I could have done that in January of 2020. Virtual proceedings are one of the lessons learned from the pandemic that will be used long after it dissipates. We found that for many proceedings with few participants and limited evidentiary disputes, Zoom hearings can be as effective and often far more efficient than traditional proceedings with everyone in a courtroom. For example, many lawyers prefer calendar calls and status conferences conducted online, which they can participate in from their offices, rather than having to drive from courthouse to courthouse, find parking, schlep through security, and then wait in the courtroom until their case is called. And it saves money for clients, too. Most courts have also moved to using video conferences for initial appearances and bond hearings in criminal cases. That reduces the time, cost, and security risks involved in transporting defendants between detention facilities and courthouses for these usually short and straightforward proceedings. As another example, Chief Judge Bobby Reeves of the Middle Judicial Circuit in Southeast Georgia reports that it's not unusual now for his court to deal with multiple habeas corpus petitions in a single day, sometimes as many as 5 or 6 cases. These hearings involve prisoners challenging their convictions after appeal. In the past, the judge in that 5-county circuit had to travel to the courthouse in the county where the prison is located. The inmate needed to be securely transported to and held at the courthouse. The lawyer representing the state had to travel from Atlanta or Augusta. Witnesses also had to travel, and the schedules of all of those participants had to be coordinated. Now the hearings are usually conducted by video conference with the consent of the parties. Judge Reeves presides from his home courthouse in Emmanuel County. The prisoner participates from the prison, usually in Washington County, the state's attorney from his or her office, the witnesses from their homes or offices, and with all the travel eliminated, there are many fewer schedule conflicts and lower costs for all involved. We recognize that some participants in court cases do not have good access to the internet, including many self-represented litigants in magistrate and other courts. Judges have been creative in providing electronic devices and secure spaces in courthouses, or even devices with hotspots that can be used in vehicles outside the courthouse to ensure fair access to these proceedings for all involved. Many of these virtual proceedings can and should be part of the judicial system's new normal when COVID becomes just a memory. And looking forward, I also have the hope that the technological lessons that we've been learning can help with long-standing concerns about access to justice by poor and lower-income Georgians who need legal help with issues affecting their families, health, homes, and jobs. One of the biggest challenges for access to justice in this state is that most of Georgia's lawyers are in Metro Atlanta or other larger cities, while much of the need for free pro bono or low-cost legal services is in parts of the state with few lawyers. Now that we've learned that judges, lawyers, and litigants don't always have to be in the same physical location to participate in court proceedings, perhaps we can find ways to bridge this gap. My newest colleague on the Supreme Court, Justice Verda Colvin, is chairing the Judicial Council's Access to Justice Committee, and she's an energetic proponent for ensuring that all Georgians have the ability to get the legal advice they need. But many judicial proceedings cannot be done effectively or even lawfully by video conference. These proceedings require their participants to be live and in person in a courtroom, and they often involve a significant number of participants. It's very important to keep in mind that most of the people who come to our courtrooms are not there by choice. Georgians can decide what level of COVID risk they are comfortable with before they go to a grocery store or a Braves game. But litigants and lawyers may need to come to courtrooms to get their cases resolved. Witnesses are often compelled to be there by subpoena, and jurors are there because they were summoned and would be subject to contempt if they fail to appear. Because we require these people to come to court, we also have an obligation to ensure that the conditions there are safe for them. So judges across the state have triage cases to determine which ones really need to be in person and in what priority. To limit the number of people in courthouse hallways and courtrooms at any one time, judges have split up case calendars and spread them throughout the day, with some courts using procedures for participants to wait in their cars until being notified that it's time to enter the building. Many court clerks have set up secure drop boxes outside courthouse doors to reduce contact between people filing papers and staff. All of these innovations are helpful, but the number of courtroom participants is largest for jury trials, which are also the ultimate proceeding in our judicial system. All Georgians have the constitutionally protected right to have their criminal cases and many of their civil disputes resolved by a jury of their fellow citizens. And jury trials require a lot of people. The judge, courtroom clerk, court reporter, bailiffs for security, the litigants and their lawyers, witnesses, the jurors and usually a few alternates, and at the start of the trial, dozens and sometimes hundreds of prospective jurors from which the trial jury will be selected, plus family members, victims, media representatives, and members of the public who want to watch the trial as it's their constitutional right. Now think about the Georgia trial courtrooms that you've seen on TV or been in yourself. They're usually not large to start with. Before COVID, we squeezed the jurors together on one side in what we called the jury box, with the witness stand, the judge's bench, clerk's desk, and tables for litigants and lawyers all close at hand, because all the participants need to be able to see and hear the proceedings. And during breaks and final deliberations, we sent the jurors to sit together in an even smaller room. We had all these folks sit in tight spaces for hours a day and days and sometimes weeks on end. That way of doing things is a recipe for the spread of a dangerous respiratory virus like COVID. So when COVID rates are skyrocketing, as they were in the spring of 2020 and again in the winter of 2021, and with the Delta variant last fall, and recently with the Omicron variant, there may be no way to conduct jury trials in a way that adequately protects the health of those involved. When rates are more moderate, however, our judges have figured out ways to safely conduct jury trials, even high-profile trials that last for several weeks. They've done so by requiring masks and improving ventilation and sanitation. They've reconfigured courtrooms to socially distance jurors and other participants, or when the courtrooms just weren't big enough to accommodate jury trials and jury selection, they borrowed or rented larger facilities where possible. In Douglas County, for example, Chief State Court Judge Eddie Parker explains that the judges modified their 2 courtrooms by moving benches and desks to allow socially distanced trials for misdemeanor crimes, which used 6-person juries. But there still wasn't enough room for civil trials that required 12 jurors, so the court approached the Douglas County Commission to obtain use of the Citizens Hall, where several jury trials have since been held very safely. Working with court administrators, sheriffs, and other stakeholders, courts have used the Classic Center in Athens, the James Brown Arena in Augusta, the ice rink at the Columbus Civic Center, and other alternate facilities for trials or jury selection. Now, acoustics and sound problems are a particular problem in these larger spaces, so they require creative solutions like the wireless headsets that the Augusta Superior Court obtained for prospective jurors, parties, and lawyers to be able to clearly hear the questioning in that huge facility. And there's also often a major challenge with holding criminal trials with detained defendants in these alternate spaces, because they usually don't have secure holding cells, meaning that many more sheriff's deputies are required at a time when most sheriff's departments are stretched thin. Technology can still help to some extent. Fulton County Chief Judge Christopher Brasher and his fellow Superior and State Court judges have developed a method for selecting jurors remotely in civil cases. Judge Brasher estimates that since last June, more than 75 juries have been selected for civil trials using Zoom. The Fulton County courts are seating more than half of the potential jurors summoned that way, which is a rate much higher than when jury summonses were in person only. While some lawyers have been hesitant about the process, Judge Brasher notes that many prospective jurors seem to open up and respond more to questions when they're sitting alone in their home or in another known and safe-feeling environment rather than in a courtroom surrounded by dozens of strangers. Judge Brasher also reports that the reaction of prospective jurors has been overwhelmingly positive. Other courts in Georgia are starting to use this remote jury selection process, and it's another of the innovations that should outlast the pandemic. But remote jury selection is used only for civil trials. And even with all the creativity our judges have shown, as long as social distancing and other health measures are required, the number of jury trials will be far below what it was before the pandemic. For example, Judge Kell says that the Cobb County Superior Court would often conduct 7 or 8 jury trials a week prior to the pandemic. The most they can conduct now with social distancing and other precautions is 3, less than half the pre-pandemic rate. Judge Wade Padgett also notes that while he and other Superior Court judges in the Augusta area have worked hard to resolve cases that were likely to result in jury pleas, in guilty pleas, or in civil settlements, what's left now are the hardest and most complex cases that are more likely destined for trial. And keep in mind that a civil settlement can be conducted completely on paper, and a guilty plea hearing may take 30 minutes, but a trial often lasts for several days or even weeks. So even when not halted entirely, our judicial system's capacity to conduct jury trials and other proceedings that need to be done in person is significantly lower because of COVID. That's led to significant backlogs, particularly of the serious criminal cases that are the most likely to go to trial and have long and complicated trials, including many gang-related and other trials with multiple defendants. Multiple defendants multiplies the participants in a trial. Dougherty County, for example, has at least 5 pending serious violent felony cases with 8 or more defendants. But there are also backlogs in domestic cases, personal injury cases, business cases, and all sorts of other cases in all of our trial courts: superior courts, state courts, juvenile courts, probate courts, magistrate courts, and municipal courts. Judges are acutely aware that all of these cases are important to the litigants and the community. We must always remember that court cases are about real people, our fellow Georgians. Defendants accused of crimes and detained in jails without bond, waiting for a trial to determine their guilt or innocence. Crime victims waiting for some justice. Children in limbo as divorce cases and child custody disputes languish. Injured plaintiffs who are waiting and struggling to survive until they can be awarded compensation. Business owners who are trying to operate under the cloud of pending litigation. We're working hard and we're working together to try to restore and expand the capacity of our judicial system to resolve cases, especially those requiring trials. You provided the courts with some much needed statutory tools in your last session. You authorized judges to extend statutory speedy trial deadlines at the local level for a time, even after formal judicial emergencies end, so criminal defendants are not required to just be released without even having a trial. You allowed more criminal cases to get started with a prosecutor's accusation instead of by grand jury indictment, and more cases to be tried by judges rather than juries where the defendant consents. And you made it easier to use alternate facilities for court proceedings. And last November, Governor Kemp allocated to the judicial system $110 million in funds the state received under ARPA, the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. These funds cannot be used to supplant normal operating budgets that let courts handle the ongoing flow of new cases being filed. The ARPA funds can be used only to obtain temporary space and hire and pay temporary personnel to address case backlogs, with a priority on backlogs of serious violent felony cases like murder, armed robbery, and aggravated sex crimes. The goal is to add more capacity with proportional funding for senior and temporary judges, as well as additional prosecutors, public defenders, court clerks, court reporters, bailiffs, and the like. The Judicial Council, through a committee chaired by Presiding Justice Boggs and staffed by the Administrative Office of the Courts, has worked diligently to establish an application process and award initial grants totaling nearly $25 million to 26 judicial circuits around the state by late December. So those funds have already started to be used. The second round of grants will be awarded later this month. A total of 42 of our 50 judicial circuits have applied for help reducing their backlogs. This has been a complicated task, but Presiding Justice Boggs, his committee, the AOC, and the judicial circuits have worked very hard, and we all greatly appreciate this financial support. But note that this ARPA funding is targeted and restricted, both by federal rules and additional limitations established by OPB. Funding for most courts in Georgia has traditionally been a shared responsibility of the state and the counties, and we need more counties to step up and contribute some of the ARPA funds that they're receiving directly to address the backlogs of cases in their county's courts. This year, every single Georgia county will receive another portion of federal COVID relief funds. Many individual counties will receive more than the $110 million the judicial branch was allocated to use in all 159 counties. The federal guidelines expressly authorize counties to use their COVID relief funding to address backlogs of cases in their courts. Fulton County has dedicated $75 million of its ARPA funds to assist its judicial system to clear out backlogs. Now, Fulton is our largest county and it has the largest backlogs, but other counties need to assist their courts as well if we're going to get back on track. We've been working with ACCG to help communicate the urgency of this issue to county leadership. Because in the end, the issue is not just the backlogs of cases that have built up over the past 2 years. New cases keep getting filed in all of our courts, sometimes at higher rates than before the pandemic, where crime rates have increased. So let's pray that we'll soon see COVID risks reduced to the point that we can get rid of social distancing and other health precautions and get our jury trial rates to back what they were before the pandemic, back to 100% of what we considered normal capacity. Well, in many counties, the judicial system operated at maximum capacity before the pandemic hit. They were barely able to handle the number of jury trials required based on new cases coming into the courts each year. This is demonstrated by the fact that a pre-pandemic caseload analysis by the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee identified the need for 8 new Superior Court judges in circuits around the state. All of these newly filed cases still need to be handled, and now add on top of them all the cases that have not been able to be resolved in the normal way over the past 2 years. I want to offer you a way to think about what our courts are facing. The Atlanta Braves canceled 102 games during the 2020 baseball season due to COVID. Those games were just canceled forever, not postponed to be resolved later like court cases have to be. What if those games eventually had to be played, and the Braves had to postpone another 102 games last season? They would be looking at an upcoming season with the usual 162 games, plus 102 games from the 2020, and another 102 games from 2021. That's a 366-game season, and I'm not sure that even our World Series champs could handle that. This is the situation some of our courts are facing right now with their overall caseloads. Let me give you a few specific examples from around the state. We have a rural judicial circuit on the coast that has 4 prisons. It has more than 200 serious violent felony cases pending, 33 coming from the prison system alone. A Northeast Georgia rural circuit has a total pending caseload 2/3 higher than before the pandemic, including 53 serious violent felony cases. The 6-county Southwestern Circuit had 377 open felony cases in 2019. Now it has more than 900. Muskogee County in West Georgia has almost 300 serious violent felony cases pending, including more than 100 detained defendants charged with murder. And these are just the indicted serious violent felony cases. They don't include cases in which the defendants have been arrested but not yet indicted, all the other sorts of criminal cases, much less all the civil cases. So this will be the main issue that the judicial system in Georgia will be dealing with, not only until the rest of our state and society return to more normal conditions, but for several years to come. I can pledge to you the continuing diligence and creativity of Georgia's judges at all levels, but we will need support and patience from you and from the public as we struggle to keep up with new cases while also resolving the cases backlogged due to COVID. I want to mention one last pandemic-related issue. Studies have shown that people with mental illnesses are more likely to be incarcerated than hospitalized. Our jails have become our de facto mental institutions, and our criminal justice system has struggled for many years with how to deal with offenders who have unaddressed behavioral health issues. The pandemic has significantly magnified these challenges. I know that improving our mental health system across the board is a priority for Speaker Ralston and for many of you. Presiding Justice Boggs and Judges Brian Amiro and Sarah Harris served on the Behavioral Health Reform and Innovation Commission, and Georgia's judges support these efforts and stand ready to assist. One effective method of dealing with nonviolent offenders who have behavioral health issues is our accountability courts, which the General Assembly and the Governor have been so supportive of in recent years. These courts, including mental health courts, veterans courts, drug courts, and DUI courts, deal with criminal defendants with much greater frequency and depth than traditional courts, as they address the behavioral health issues and other issues that often lead nonviolent individuals into our criminal justice system. Our accountability courts have had to be particularly creative during the pandemic in balancing remote and in-person check-ins, group meetings, and treatment sessions. But they have continued to be successful in reducing recidivism rates, saving the state money by allowing offenders to re-enter society and the workforce rather than being incarcerated, and most importantly, saving lost souls. But beyond accountability courts, communities across Georgia need more resources to serve our fellow citizens with mental health issues. Addressing this problem is not just good for our justice system and our economy, it's a moral imperative for our state. I'd like to end on a positive note. In December, the Supreme Court of Georgia celebrated its 175th anniversary with a two-day history seminar. I want to thank the Georgia Legal History Foundation, which organized the event along with my colleague, Justice Carla Wong McMillan. In listening to the speakers at that event, I was struck by how much our Supreme Court has changed over the years. We've grown from 3 justices in 1846 who traveled around the state by horse and buggy to hear cases, to 9 justices with chambers in the state's first building dedicated to the judiciary who now have the ability to hear cases by video conference when necessary. There are only 3 former female Supreme Court justices, but we now have 4 women serving as justices at the same time. Yet some things don't change. We remain one of the busiest high courts in the nation. We disposed of nearly 1,400 cases in 2021, including issuing 239 full opinions. That's more than 3 times as many opinions as the U.S. Supreme Court issued in its last term. But most importantly, our fundamental mission has never changed. Like all courts in Georgia, we remain focused on providing an independent and impartial forum in which disputes are resolved through a fair and efficient process in accordance with the law and with equal justice for all. That mission has been challenged in many ways over the centuries, and the pandemic crisis has certainly been a significant new challenge. But Georgia's judges and the staff that support us are resilient and resourceful. We're weathering this storm and will emerge better than we were before. You are very valued allies in our mission, and we appreciate everything you do for our state and for the citizens who we serve together. Thank you again for the opportunity to report to you on the state of our judiciary. May God continue to bless the United States and the great state of Georgia. Thank you for the mention. Important.
Thank you, Justice Namias, for your remarks and just a great reflective look back as to how hard you and your colleagues have worked all throughout the judicial system through this unprecedented time, and grateful for your commitment to carrying out justice in our great state of Georgia. Madam Doorkeeper, please escort the Chief Justice, the Justices of the Supreme Court, and the judges of the Court of Appeals from the chamber at this time.
Thank you, Governor.
At this time, I would like to recognize the distinguished Speaker Pro Tem for a motion.
I move to dissolve this joint session of the Georgia General Assembly.
The Speaker Pro Tem has moved that this joint session be dissolved. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it, and this joint session is hereby dissolved.
Members of the House, I will remind you that the House will still be in order. We have a good bit of business to get done. The sooner we get everybody back in position, the sooner we can begin and the sooner we can end. Ready? Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Jan Tankers, the 160th District Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals had under consideration the following bills of the House and is instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 1099 do pass. House Bill 1100 do pass. House Bill 1155 do pass. House Bill 1156 do pass. House Bill 1157 do pass. House Bill 1159 do pass. House Bill 1160 do pass. House Bill 1161 do pass. House Bill 1162 do pass. House Bill 1163 do pass. House Bill 1164 do pass. House Bill 1165 do pass. House Bill 1166 do pass. House Bill 1167 do pass. House Bill 1168 do pass. House Bill 1169 do pass. House Bill 1170 do pass. House Bill 1171 do pass. House Bill 1172 do pass. House Bill 1173 do pass. House Bill 1174 do pass. House Bill 1190 do pass. House Bill 1191 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman. Representative James J. Collins of the 68th District Chairman of the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security has had under consideration the following bills of the House. Instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 347 do pass. House Bill 1146 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Jay Collins, the 68th District Chairman. Representative Mike Jokas of the 138th District Chairman of the Committee on Small Business Development submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Small Business Development has had under consideration the following resolutions of the House. And instructed me to report same back to the House. The following recommendations. House Resolution 579 do pass by substitute. House Resolution 627 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Mike Jokas of the 138th District Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
All right, we're going on now to the local calendar. Going on to the local calendar. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendar.
House Bill 1099 by Representative Hatchett of the 150th Lawrence County. House Bill 1100 by Representative Hatchett of the 150th Lawrence County. House Bill 1155 by Representative Barton of the 5th Gordon County. House Bill 1156 by Representative Hatchett of the 150th Johnson County. House Bill 1157 by Representative Hatchett of the 150th Johnson County. House Bill 1159 by Representative Green in the 151st Calhoun County. House Bill 1160 by Representative Green in the 151st Clay County. House Bill 1161 by Representative Green in the 151st Clay County. House Bill 1162 by Representative Pruitt of the 149th Telfair County. House Bill 1163 by Representative Pruitt of the 149th Dodge County. House Bill 1164 by Representative Pruitt of the 149th Dodge County. House Bill 1165 by Representative Pruitt, Wheeler County. House Bill 1166 by Representative Yurt of the 152nd Lee County. House Bill 1167 by Representative Rhodes of the 120th Talafiero County. House Bill 1168 by Representative Perkle of the 155th Turner County. House Bill 1169 by Representative Perkle of the 155th Turner County. House Bill 1170 by Representative Taylor of the 173rd Thomas County. House Bill 1171 by Representative Dickey, the 140th Monroe County. House Bill 1172 by Representative Dickey of the 140th Monroe County. House Bill 1173 by Representative Belton of the 112th Morgan County. House Bill 1174 by Representative Belton of the 112th Morgan County. House Bill 1190 by Representative Scoggins of the 14th Bartow County. And House Bill 1191 by Representative Smith of the 18th City of Bremen.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? It is time to vote. Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bills on the local calendar, the ayes are 133, the nays are 11, and these bills have passed on the local calendar. What purpose does Chairman Tankersley rise?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to make a motion.
State your motion.
I move we immediately transmit the local calendar to the Senate.
Chairman Tankersley has moved that the local calendar just approved by this House be immediately transferred to the Senate. Is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. We're going on now to morning orders. Going on to morning orders. Chair is going to ask that members who speak on morning orders limit their remarks to no more than 2 minutes each. The chair recognizes for a morning order Representative LaRicchia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It probably doesn't come as a surprise to many of you that I'm up here this morning to offer an apology. If you know me and had an opportunity to spend a little bit of time with me, you'll see that I can be a liability to be around. You might get in a little trouble, but I will also say that if you know me and you're going into battle, I'm the guy you want standing beside you. But that does not excuse an inappropriate action or behavior or speech, and if you'll ask my wife, she'll tell you I'm prone to all of that. However, it's made me pretty good at apologizing. There's a lot that I can say, and I've even heard the word hypocrite. Let me be clear about something with the word hypocrite. We all are, and I am the chief. We are all broken. We are all in need of guidance and advice and wisdom and grace and mercy. So I'm going to quote the rabbi that we heard this morning, and I'm going to keep it short. I love this house and I love you. I'm sorry for what I did, and in case anybody doesn't know, I was the goofball in the panoramic picture that thought it would be cute or naughty or a little funny to make a gesture with my bird finger, and none of that was cute or funny, but it was definitely naughty and inappropriate. I apologize. I hope that you'll extend me a little bit of grace and forgiveness. I love you and I love this house, and God bless y'all.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the House Ethics Committee, Chairman Randy Nix, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Spend. If you don't wish to hear the morning orders, there's plenty of room in the anteroom or out in the hall. Otherwise, the chair is going to expect that you give attention to the member in the well. Gentlemen may proceed.
Friends of the House, I've been honored to serve in this House for 16 years. Now, the old adage that the days are long and the years are short is really true. There have been some long, long days, but the years have gone just like that. It has been such an awesome honor. I come in here every day and I look around and I'm amazed that I'm here. Do you realize the history that's in this building? Do you realize that there are almost 11 million people in this state? There are 180 state representatives. I am one. I'm one. I sit at that desk right over there. Right on the front row. I didn't start on the front row. I started way back in the middle, but I'm on the front row. I've got a thing there that's got buttons on it. It's got a red button, you vote no. Got a green button, you vote yes. It's got a button you can press to speak. It is such an amazing thing to me, and it is so very, very special. But you know what? You're just as special. You're just as special as I am. You were elected to come here. You represent about 60,000 people. You are given the title of the Honorable Representative, just like I am. You're special. You've got the same voting apparatus there on your desk. You represent people who believe in you, and they sent you here to take care of the people's business. And you know what? In a lot of your districts, I couldn't get elected. But most of you, or a lot of you, could not get elected in my district. It's just that way. But when we come here, unfortunately, we come here with differences. We come here with competition on our mind. We come here with contention. We're almost like the court system. We come here almost as an adversarial situation. We start off, maybe in a primary. You've either got to outright or out left whoever's in the primary with you. You make it to the general, you got an R and a D, you're already beginning to divide up. And then you get down here, you got rural, you got urban, you got conservative, you got liberal or progressive. We've got the full gamut of political ideologies in this house. We've got caucuses of everything you can think of. We've got a majority caucus. We've got a minority caucus. And I can go on and on and on as how we divide ourselves up on these things. And that's before we even swear in. But we come here because decisions have to be made. We come here with this volatile mix of people that I've just mentioned, with all of these differences. And I've got a question for you. What keeps us from just being a mob? What prevents us from just being a mob of 180 people? The people who decided about making the rules for the House kind of solved that for us. If you look at the House Rules, Ethics, and Decorum of the House of Representatives, Rule 1.1 says this: all members and staff of the House shall conduct themselves at all times with dignity, and with respect for others, in a manner to ensure appropriate decorum in the deliberations of the House and to reflect the responsibilities incumbent upon a member or staff of the House. Dignity. You know, the fact that we are elected by the people and we hold this special office means we're held to a higher standard. That respect that you get, what's given to you when you come in here and you get all of these things, you're to be held to a higher standard because of that. You know, this word dignity is an interesting word. It's not a long word, but it's a powerful word. Here's the definition: dignity, bearing, conduct, or speech indicative of self-respect or appreciation of the formality or gravity of an occasion or situation. Indicative of self-respect or appreciation. I want to share just a couple of things with you, and I'm going to be more than 2 minutes, Mr. Speaker, but you said I could. I was looking at the word dignity, and it means a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to you. A guy by the name of Michael Wynn wrote this: dignity, listen to this. Dignity is the ability to stand strong and tall in the face of adversity while being able to bow to the elderly and crawl with the children. Dignity is taking a stand for your beliefs without closing your mind to another's opinion. Dignity is being an example by your deeds and through your words, avoiding gossip, anger, and lies. And finally, he says, dignity will manifest itself in the warmth of your smile, the depth of your love, and kindness for your fellow man. Another person says it this way: knowing when to walk away is wisdom, being able to is courage, walking away with your head held high is dignity. You're all special people. People sent you here because they trust you. But they sent you here to do something. They sent you here to do the people's business. Not to promote yourself, but to do the people's business. And for that, they believe you should be held to a higher standard. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about conducting yourself while you're here as if what you're doing and what you're saying is being live streamed directly to your mother, to your family, to your pastor. Think of the person that you admire the most in this world that you would hate to disappoint. And imagine that everything that you do and you say while you're in this house is live streamed directly to them. And we all have that person. I think about my third grade teacher. I'd hate to do anything in the world that would ever go back to her, because she poured herself into me. But just think about that. Please conduct yourself with dignity, treat others with dignity, and remember, this is important. The people have entrusted us with the honor and dignity of this house. At this moment in time, we're building on the history that's out there. We're going to pass it on. Let's join arms together and leave it better than we found it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dickey for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman Nix, for that. Wow, I hate to follow that. On a different note, today is Georgia Farm Bureau Day at the Capitol. It's Georgia's largest farm organization with over 250,000 members and offices in every county. And I hope you'll stop by your local office and visit them and see what they're doing to promote and encourage agriculture throughout our state. And they also sell a little insurance as well. You know, a few years ago, this house lost a great farmer and a great ag chairman in Tom McCall. But Farm Bureau gained a great president with he and his wife, Jane. And so on behalf of Georgia Farm Bureau, I'd like to invite you to have lunch down at the depot today as soon as this session's over. And they also have their mobile classroom out in the street, what was formerly Washington Street, and tour that. And just want to say a shout out to our Georgia Farm Bureau organization in this state. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Corbett, Chairman Stevens, Majority Whip Hatchett, and Representative Ridley for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. February 8th today is Dyslexia Day at the Capitol also. In 1994, the National Institute of Health conducted a study. Here's some of their findings. Dyslexia is identifiable with 92% accuracy at between the ages of 5.5 and 6.5. Dyslexia represents the most common of all known learning disabilities. Dyslexia is the leading cause of reading failure and school dropouts in the nation. Early intervention is essential for this population. Children do not outgrow reading failure or dyslexia. To say it better, children do not mature out of reading disabilities. Early detection is critical, and they can go on to do many great things. Some of the famous people with dyslexia, just a few: Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, Muhammad Ali, Bill Gates, Steven Spielberg, Magic Johnson, Tim Tebow, and a future famous person that lives in my district, Gabe Hewling, young man. His mom wouldn't take he's a male, just learn slower, just give him time. She got him tested. He had dyslexia, and he's doing great things, excelling in school. Early intervention is critical. We've got a group at the Capitol today, Decoding Dyslexia. Please take the time to get to talk to these young kids that's right around here. They've got unique stories, but at the same time, let them know that we're going to do all we can to help promote their cause. Thank you again.
Chair recognizes Representative Al Williams, Chairman Hogan, Representative Saines, Representative DeLoach, Chairman Hitchens, and Representative Edna Jackson for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On February the 3rd, 1971, at 10:53 in the morning, a Thiokol chemical plant blew up in Woodbine, Georgia. I've asked some folk to join me that were directly and sometimes indirectly involved starting with Representative Hitchens, who as a young state patrol was one of the first responders. And I don't want to offend anybody, but he said that that was the most horrendous scene he'd ever seen, even being a Vietnam combat veteran with bodies and body limbs hanging from trees. 29 people lost their life that morning. Over 100 were permanently maimed. Unfortunately, OSHA did not do its job. The plant was not safe. It was listed incorrectly as a 2 when it should have been a 7. They were building flares for the Vietnam War, and the folk there did not know how dangerous they were. I chose this morning because the vast majority of the people that died were African American, although some whites died. But the help came from as far away as Savannah and as far south as Florida. People came and ran to this tragedy. First responders were very, very important. There's a move about toward the Medal of Freedom from Congress to those who are survivors and those that died. I'm going to do a resolution to that effect. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, but for just a moment of silence for that great tragedy. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Burchett, Chairman Corbett, Representative Saines, Chairman Lynn Smith, and Chairman Darlene Taylor for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, colleagues. Today is Okefenokee Day at the Capitol. We have a proclamation here. I'm going to read a few excerpts. If you have not been to the Okefenokee Swamp in South Georgia, myself and my delegation invite you to come. It is one of the most wondrous places to be, where you can witness God's greatness in the natural environment. The state of Georgia is blessed with the unrivaled beauty of the Okefenokee Swamp, the largest blackwater wetland in North America. Whereas the Okefenokee Swamp is recognized as one of Georgia's 7 natural wonders and a natural area unique not only to the state of Georgia, but also the United States of America and the world. And whereas Okefenokee National Swamp Wildlife Refuge is nominated to be inscribed as a World Heritage Site as a designated by UNESCO as a natural site of outstanding universal value. The Okefenokee Swamp spans 438,000 acres, with 93% of its protected as the Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge, including 353,000 acres designated as a National Wildlife Area by Congress. We again invite you to come down to Okefenokee anytime. You're welcome. Please phone me or any one of these delegates down here. We appreciate you, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Bennett for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to Chairman Nix. I'm going to have a live stream right now as I take my Black History moment in time. Today I rise to recognize this great man in my life, my dad, who would have been 91 years old on today. History, American history, my history, and because of something called process theology, we're all a part of each other's history. My father, Mr. Robert Leroy Leeper Jr., is undeniably a history maker that I am proud to stand here today to give honor to whom honor is due. My father, Mr. Robert Leroy Leeper Jr., lived a life, and he has been my hero, and his shero, and my shero stands beside him after 63 years of marriage. There was a saying that I learned in school that when you have a couple that is connected at the hip for so long, it takes, once one passes, it's not there much longer that the other one would pass. And on February the 14th, 2016, my daddy died, and 1 year later to the day, my mother passed also. So on the second Monday in January, both my parents, Robin and Gracie, were so proud to witness me, their daughter, in this chamber to be sworn in as a representative for House District 94. So today I rise to spotlight them, to streamline this up into heaven where I'm sure they are, and to recognize and say, happy birthday, Daddy. I love you and my mom. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this privilege to recognize my parents, Robert and Gracie Leeper. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Lynn Smith and Representative McLeod for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're here today for a story I wish to tell you. And I'm going to put this framed photograph up here of the 1996 Olympics. So I know I have 2 minutes, so I wrote my script. Today I rise to honor the memory of Muhammad Ali. I'm prompted to do so because of a recent TV segment showing Muhammad Ali's family visiting Atlanta's landmark 1996 ceremonial cauldron that Muhammad Ali was chosen to light, thus starting the 1996 Olympics. This episode reminded me of the time I met Muhammad Ali. It was, in fact, during the 1996 Olympics. I was an Olympic Village volunteer. I was assigned as a translator to the African nation of Benin. Benin is what we say now. My French was pretty good back then. Towards the end of the Olympics, I was accompanying the chef de mission, Monsieur Noble, around the Olympic Village when the word spread that Muhammad Ali was in the village. Monsieur Noble exclaimed to me that it would be his greatest joy to meet Muhammad Ali. I knew it was impossible, but I said, let's try. Well, I pushed and maneuvered us through the crowd, all the time switching from French to English, English to French. French for Monsieur Noble as I urged him to please keep up, and English to Muhammad Ali, like he heard me, right? Shouting, a leader from Benin would love to meet you. The next thing I knew, this very large bodyguard approached me, saying, Muhammad Ali wants to meet you. Really? So we followed him up to meet Muhammad Ali. I stood to the side, translating for them, ensuring that my experience would be just between the two of them, not me. When it was time to leave, Muhammad Ali stopped me and thanked me, the interpreter. He did not need to do that. It was not protocol, but he did. It was a brief handshake and 2 words, thank you. Words and a moment I have never forgotten. I want to leave you with this. Monsieur Noble met his hero that day, and thanks to Muhammad Ali, his kindness, I met a wonderful, caring man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Hutchinson for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Today I bring to you 10-year-old Jahil. He is a smart, loving, caring, and energetic boy who enjoys music-related activities like listening to rap music and learning how to play the piano. Attention, Entertainment Caucus. He also enjoys playing with his toys and playing and watching basketball and football. Colleagues, Jahil is one of the hundreds of children that are available for adoption in Georgia today. Thank you, and I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Cannon for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, members. I wanted to bring to you today the attention of an issue that has been near and dear to a lot of members, which is birth in Georgia. As many of you may know, I serve as a labor doula here in our hospitals in the state of Georgia. I serve clients who are as far down as Albany and as far up as Blue Ridge. You see, as a labor doula, sometimes you're compensated by those who can pay you, and in other states, you're compensated by Medicaid. Unfortunately, in our state, we have seen that birth workers have only been able to be compensated by individual pay. And so I want to just talk to you a little bit about what it looks like to be a labor doula or a direct entry midwife in Georgia right now. It means that you're providing care to people who would generally receive Medicaid services, but the state doesn't actually include it. Every other state surrounding us, Florida, Tennessee, North and South Carolina, Alabama, and Mississippi, all allow for direct entry midwives. Those are midwives who are trained in emergency response care for birth and have those who are support workers to them, labor doulas like myself. We're struggling right now in Georgia because, as I reported to you yesterday and the AJC reported, the births at home have gone up 29% over the past years because of COVID-19, of course. On your desk, of course, I have some information about it, but the goal is really to increase the opportunity for legislators to just understand that birth is natural. And the ways that birth is happening right now in the state of Georgia, we can all relate to. Whether you were born at home or whether you were born in the hospital, I ask that you just take some time to get to know birth workers in Georgia. We'll be here all around the state capitol today. And if I can ever be of help to you, regardless of where you think I might be on the issue, I hope you come talk to me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That completes morning orders. What purpose does Chairman Werkheiser rise?
To make a motion,
State your motion.
I move that House Bill 1137 be moved from Public Safety and Homeland Security to Judiciary. Both chairmen agree.
Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 1137 by Representative Werkheiser and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 13 and Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions of administrative procedure.
On the motion of Chairman Werkheiser that House Bill 1137 be recommitted from the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee to the Judiciary Committee, is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. What purpose does Chairman Stevens rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
Speaker, I move that House Bill 1053 be moved from the Creative Arts and Entertainment Committee to Ways and Means.
Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 1053 by Representative Stevens, the 164th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7, Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the imposition rate computation exemptions and credits for state income tax.
On the motion of Chairman Stevens that House Bill 1053 be recommitted from the Creative Arts and Entertainment Committee to the Ways and Means Committee, is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. What purpose does Chairman Darlene Taylor rise?
To make a motion,
State your motion.
I move that House Bill 1248 and 1256 be moved from the Intergovernmental Coordination into Governmental Affairs, and both chairmen agree.
Clerk will read the caption to both.
House Bill 1248 by Representative Wilkerson of the 38th to be titled an act to amend an act providing for the election of members of the Board of Education of Cobb County. House Bill 1256 by Representative Wilkerson of the 38th to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Cobb County.
On the motion of Chairman Taylor that House Bills 1248 and 1256 be recommitted from the Intergovernmental Coordination Committee to the Governmental Affairs Committee, is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. We are now going on to the rules calendar. Going on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 56.
House Bill 56 by Representative Cantrell of the 22nd to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 1562, the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating the number of judges to Superior Courts so as to provide for an additional judge of the Superior Courts of the Blue Ridge Judicial Circuit. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Cantrell to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, this bill is very simple. All it does is provide for an additional Superior Court judge position in the Blue Ridge Circuit. Judicial Council ranked this circuit as the second highest circuit of need in our state, with our judges working a work level of 1.5, and that was 2 years ago. Their workload has increased considerably since then. The bill was voted unanimously out of Judiciary Committee, and all of our delegation and local officials support the passage of this bill. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll stand for questions if there are any.
You do not have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 56 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 56. The ayes are 148, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 263.
House Bill 263 by Representative Scoggins, the 14th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 471171 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating the amount of retirement benefits for judges of the probate courts. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary. This bill having referred to the Committee on Retirement. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Scoggins to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I bring to you today House Bill 263, and this bill does only one thing. It would allow for a more current mortality table for determining the benefits for a survivor of a probate judge. The current table used now was used back in 1951, so we need to update that table, please. And I'll stand for questions if there is any.
No questions.
Thank you. I yield the will.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 263 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 263. The ayes are 150, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 1045.
House Bill 1045 by Representative Gaines, the 117th and others, to be titled an act to amend Chapter 9 and Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to workers' compensation so as to extend the time period for the dissolution of the subsequent injury trust fund. This bill having referred to the Committee on Industry and Labor, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Houston Gaines to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1045, there are two parts to this legislation. Both are simply changing dates. The first part, which is sections 1 through 6, maintains the employer contribution rate at 2.64%, with the administrative assessment at 0.06%, rates we've had since 2017. Should this not pass, the employer contribution rate would increase to 2.7%. The administrative assessment fee would increase to 0.08%. This legislation extends these rates through 2026. The legislature has implemented extensions every few years since 1987. In 2016, extension of this sunset passed unanimously. The second part of the legislation, Section 7, extends the Subsequent Injury Trust Fund for 2 years, from 2023 to 2025. The Subsequent Injury Trust Fund was started in 1977 to encourage employers to hire and retain qualified employees with disabilities. Subsequent injuries were picked up by the fund as they occurred. Insurance companies and self-insurers have paid assessments yearly into the fund since 2019, when it was decided there was enough funds accumulated to pay for all future benefits. The fund quit accepting cases in 2006. They are down from over 10,000 cases to 645 cases. The program is self-funded, so this does not cost the state or taxpayers. And by passing this legislation, it will allow the Subsequent Injury Trust Fund to continue to lower its caseload and help more workers close their cases. In 2025, the program would be transferred to the Department of Insurance. In 2015, extension of the Subsequent Injury Trust Fund also passed unanimously. Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to answer a question.
Do you yield for questions? You have a lot of questions.
Mr. Speaker, I'll yield for one, and then I'll.
Okay. Chair recognizes Representative Stacey Evans to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I will.
I'm a litigator. I live my life by the grace of deadlines, both from judges and from opposing counsel, as most people do. So I don't have any problem generally with extensions of time. But when you say we've given extensions regularly since 1987, we haven't had any more cases since 2006, which by my math is 16 years ago. I understand we've got 9 employees over there. Last year, we settled 57 cases out of the 645. At that rate, we're going to need a lot more than 4 years. So I don't mind giving extensions, but I want to know to what end, because it seems to me we've got people that are lagging out there, waiting for attention. These are working people. So tell me how this is actually going to alleviate problems for these working Georgians.
Sure. Well, thank you for the question. The 1987 piece was the Department of Labor assessment that we've given extensions for every 5 years, not related to the Subsequent Injury Trust Fund. So we have extended the Subsequent Injury Trust Fund. We last did that in 2015. As I said, in 2006 there were over 10,000 cases. We're down to 645. So there has been progress made, and 2 more years would allow additional progress before the program is transferred to the Department of Insurance.
Will you yield for another question?
I will.
But if we have settled only, as I understand it, 12 cases in the last year, how are 2 more, 4 more, 6 more, even 8 more going to do it? Aren't we at the point where we need to settle what we can and let the rest be handled administratively forever and ever, amen?
So as I understand it, they are on the verge of settling quite a bit more. As I said, they went from 10,000 to 645. The program is going to be transferred to the Department of Insurance. That's what the legislation did several years ago. It's going to transfer the department, but this would give the current Subsequent Injury Trust Fund the ability to get that down even further, and so that's what the legislation does, in addition to, again, the Department of Labor component, keeping the rates as we have them since 2017, which those rates would increase if we didn't pass this. So, Mr. Speaker, with that, I'll yield the well and ask the body's favorable consideration.
You don't want to take any more questions?
I'll yield.
Okay. Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. What purpose does Representative Kennard rise?
Parliamentary
State
inquiry.
your inquiry.
Isn't it true that the governor has appropriated $150 million in part to fund this, and with 4 more years and $150 million, the expectation should be to settle all these cases?
Well, I think it is. The first part is certainly true in terms of the amount of the appropriation or the allocation. What purpose does Representative Evans rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that if that 150 million is appropriated, which I believe that it is as well, it certainly could be spent between now and December 31, 2022, which is the current sunset?
I believe that that is the case. All right, one more parliamentary inquiry. What purpose does Representative Holly rise?
Parliamentary.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that for those of us who heard this case in our committee meeting, for those that actually voted against it, after realizing that both sides actually came to an agreement that we voted in, that now we'll likely vote in favor of it?
If the gentleman so states. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 1045. The ayes are 116, the nays are 37. This bill, having received a requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. House Bill 961 will be postponed until the next legislative day. The clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions.
Honoring the life and memory of Russell Carricker. Honoring the life and memory of Gloria Elaine Doss. Recognizing and commending Ethan Pham. Recognizing and commending Moses Missionary Baptist Church on the occasion of its 115th anniversary. Recognizing February 8th, 2022 is Georgia Stomp Day at the state capitol. Recognizing January 28, 2022 is John Evans Day. Saluting the 100th anniversary of the Brazelton Women Club. Recognizing and commending Athens Clarke County Police Chief Cleveland Spruill. Recognizing and commending the Georgia State University team on its outstanding performance and victory in the 2021 Tax Act Camellia Bowl. Honoring the life and memory of Russell Carricker and other purposes. That completes the reading of the privilege resolution.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. If you have signed up for an announcement, somebody stole my line over there. Is that Chairman Tarvin? Yes. You do this better than I do. If you signed up for an announcement, please make your way down to the front and be prepared to go. Chair recognizes Representative Buckner for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are the #1 forestry state, and tonight is a reception at the depot from 5 to 7, so please join the Georgia Forestry Association at their reception. Have a good time. Thanks.
Chair recognizes Representative Alexander for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Women Caucus meeting, we will meet in room 307 to pick up lunches and jump on a Zoom meeting. Thanks.
Chair recognizes Chairman Jones, Todd Jones, for an announcement.
Hey, good afternoon, colleagues. The Mental Health Caucus will meet on Thursday at noon. 2 experts, one on insurance parity and one on the co-responder model. We hope that you can join us. Lunch will be served. 3:41.
Chair recognizes Chairman Green for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The State Properties meeting will be tomorrow at 3:30, room 403, the State Capitol. That's February the 9th in room 403, State Properties meeting. We've got a full agenda, so please come.
Chair recognizes Chairman Tarvin for an announcement.
The Insurance Committee Property and Casualty Subcommittee will meet in CLOB 406 at 1 p.m. 406 CLOB, 1 p.m.
Chair recognizes Representative Gullett for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 2 quick announcements. One, 3 o'clock today, Governmental Affairs, Redistricting and Elections Special Subcommittee. That's in room 341 here in the Capitol. Also a reminder about tomorrow's Governmental Affairs Full Committee. It's at 2 o'clock in room 406 at the CLOB. Thank you so much.
Chair recognizes Chairman Knight for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know there's some rumors in the hall about possible PBM carve-out bill regarding the carve-out of managed prescription drugs out of managed Medicaid. It is here. This is the same bill that this body passed in 2000 by 168 yea votes with only 5 nay votes. If you want to sign on to this bill, please come up here. I'm going to have it up here for a little bit. If not, please come to my office and sign. You may have heard from your community in support of this bill. This is it. Thank you.
You're not suggesting that people engage in rumors out in the hall here, are you? I've been here a few years. I've never heard that. Ever. Chair recognizes Representative Timothy Barr for an announcement.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Natural Resources, listen up. We have the Natural Resources Resource Management Subcommittee. We'll meet upon adjournment 1 o'clock at 606 CLOB. Thanks so much.
Chair recognizes Representative Earhart for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Regulatory Subcommittee of Regulated Industries will meet at 2:30 today in CLOB room 506.
All right, listen up. We have one very important item of business. Well, we got another announcement. Chair recognizes Chairman Cooper for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Health and Human Services will meet at 2 today in 606 the CLOB. Health and Human Services at 2. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, so tomorrow will be the birthday of the chairman of the Game, Fish, and Parks Committee, Chairman Trey Rhodes. But don't bother him tomorrow. He is studying the proposed resolution naming the possum the official marsupial of the state of Georgia. You keep working. Got another announcement. Chair recognizes Chairman England for an announcement.
Sorry about that, Mr. Speaker. I just realized tomorrow is a committee work day, but the Appropriations Committee will be meeting on Thursday morning. All the subcommittees will start at 7 o'clock in room 341. We'll roll out of the subcommittees into the full committee as soon as they're finished, getting ready to roll the amended budget to the floor, hopefully by the end of this week. Thank you.
Last call. Last call for announcements. Are you serious? Chair recognizes Chairman Lumsden for an announcement.
There will be a meeting of the Insurance Committee, full committee tomorrow at 10 a.m., CLOB 506. Thank you.
I'm just going to go ahead and recognize the majority leader now. Chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate you getting to me. Finally, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand in recess until 4 p.m. today and then stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, February the 10th, 2022.
Leader Burns has moved that this House will stand in recess until 4 o'clock p.m. today, whereupon we will be adjourned until Thursday, February 10th at 10 a.m., which means that tomorrow is a committee day, and every committee should be meeting tomorrow. So on the motion of the majority leader that this House be adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, all those in favor will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it, and this House will be in recess until 4 o'clock today, and then we will stand adjourned until Thursday at 10 a.m.